What's up everyone? As week 8 in the Big Brother house continues, one house guest is pushed towards breaking point. It's not looking good for them, and can they salvage their game? We've got so much to talk about, guys, so welcome to your live feed update. So folks, question of the day: if the nominees stay as is, which isn't likely, Xavier's likely going to come down off the block. I'd like to know, folks, who you would like to see evicted from the Big Brother house this week. So I'll probably just phrase it as this, folks. Who would you like to see evicted from the Big Brother house, Kyland or Sarah Beth? Let me know in the comment section below. Tensions are starting to rise between Xavier and Kyland, because Kyland is basically going to overdrive, as he always does when there's anything involved with him being the head of household or a nominee or the veto. We obviously know that when he's head of household, Kyland turns into Larry King, and the head of household room becomes the studio for a chat show, and he talks to people for hours and hours and hours until 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning, and he's not even in power this week, and he's really pushing those buttons. He's in the cookout. He doesn't need to worry. There's nothing he's doing. He's not going to get evicted this week. He is damaging his game further by continuing to press buttons and annoy people. So Xavier's kind of getting a bit annoyed with that, because he obviously is the third nominee, and even he is kind of sat back not doing much. I think he kind of knows Hannah's probably going to use the veto on him, but again, he's safe, just like Kyland is safe. No, they're not going to evict Kyland over Sarah Beth. So essentially, Kyland is just as safe as Xavier. I get it, Kyland's going to be on the block and Xavier isn't, but he needs to just lay low. And that's exactly what Tiffany said to him. She pulled him aside towards the end of the day, because he'd kind of been doing this for the majority of the day. And, you know, she cornered him and said, look, lay low, chill, stop pushing buttons. You know, you need to stop doing this, because you're going to get a target on your back. We know within the cookout already it's going to be 3v3 when it gets down to it. It's going to be the guys versus the girls. The guys have already made a final 3 deal, but if this, you know, if this tension continues to arise between Xavier and Kyland, that could put another, you know, crack right in the middle of there. The first crack in the cookout is right down the centre of, we've got Tiffany, Azza and Hannah on one side, and Big D, Xavier and Kyland on the other. And then we find our first crack there between Xavier and Kyland, and there's probably going to be a crack that's shown up multiple times this season between Tiffany and Azza on the other side. So all these little cracks are starting to show within the cookout. So yes, they are going to make the final 6. It's extremely likely. But then we're going to see one hell of a showdown when it gets to the final 6. It's fair to say that Sarah Beth is kind of at breaking point. She is totally, you know, there was one little incident. She was in the storage room and she'd opened the cupboard, and I think she was getting a razor out. She accidentally dropped her razor on the floor, and she picked it up and just threw it on the countertop. She absolutely smashed it, and like, she kind of went rage mode there. It's crazy to see, because I get it, you're on the block, but I mean, if you look at the turntables, or whatever you want to call it, that's the office that well how the turntables, obviously the actual phrase is how the tables turn, but folks, I mean, every single person who's been on the block so far, we've seen, you know, well, let's even talk about the people who've been evicted. You know, Travis, even Frenchie and Brent, Whitney. I'm trying to think of everyone's order off the top of my head there. You know, just everybody basically. You know, everybody's been on the block. Nobody's acted or behaved this way when they've been on the block or knew they were going out the door. I mean, you'd kind of think maybe Brent or Frenchie would do something like that, but I mean, she's literally like it's like the tables have turned on her, and now she's not happy, and she's acting like that. There's no need to go on like that. I get it though. I will say, because I always do, you've got to look at every perspective and go, we don't know what it's like to be in there. But I do think it speaks volume when there's been people who have, you know, kind of been thrown totally under the bus, and they've still yet to have any reaction like that. Derek X had the world in his hands last week. He could have competed he could have competed in the roulette table, and he didn't. But he went out like a class act. He didn't throw tantrums. He didn't throw things on the floor and smash things on the countertops. He went out like a class act, as did most people this season. So that's all I'm saying. I just think it seems very telling when that sort of thing goes on. But obviously, at the end of the day, we send good vibes to Sarah Beth. Hope she's doing okay. But at the end of the day, we got to remember it's a game. Now, Xavier and Hannah were discussing the fact that Kyland really wants Alyssa out bad, and of course it's because he wants Sarah Beth to stick around. Them two are joined at the hip 24/7, and it makes sense that they're trying to get Sarah Beth out this week, because listen, Kyland won head of household, everybody wanted Sarah Beth out. Guess what Kyland didn't do? He didn't get Sarah Beth out. Sarah Beth won head of household. Guess what? They can't get Sarah Beth out, so they are taking this chance whilst they have it. And, you know, if Sarah Beth was to be kept around, you know, that's going to cause mayhem. You know, if Alyssa was to be sent out the door this week, hypothetically, if Alyssa goes, then Sarah Beth's here next week. Then if Kyland wins head of household, that's another week where Sarah Beth's around. And guess what? What happens the week after? If Sarah Beth wins head of household, then, it's another week where Sarah Beth's there. And the cookout numbers will have to start picking one another off, leaving a situation where it could get down to the wire where there's a cookout member in the jury and Sarah Beth is there with the rest of the cookout. That will cause so much mayhem and fireworks. It will be unbelievable. And the cookout will really start to dislike Kyland, more so than they already do. There's obviously people who like Kyland in there, but I think a lot of them are really kind of annoyed with him because they feel like he's playing a double game, essentially, where it's kind of playing in a duo with Sarah Beth. And Sarah Beth has done everything for Kyland. I think a lot of people before Sarah Beth's head of household last week got really hopeful, really excited after the crushing moment of Derek X missing out by a millisecond. People were thinking Sarah Beth might do something, to shake up the game. Did she? Nope, she did exactly what Kyland wanted her to do, and props to Kyland for getting her to do that. That was good manipulation. But it's gotten into a situation now where the house wants Sarah Beth out badly, and people are kind of pissed at Kyland. So it makes sense that they're going to take Sarah Beth out this week rather than Alyssa. I think Kyland, it will be interesting to see where he goes after this week, because when Sarah Beth is out of the game, hopefully he can get his head back in the game and play. Because Kyland, in my opinion, he was playing one of the strongest games before he kind of became infatuated with Sarah Beth. He was playing such a fantastic, phenomenal game. I had him up there probably in the players who were playing the top 3 best games this season. And then he kind of went from there all the way to near the bottom, because he's not playing for himself right now. But if Sarah Beth goes, that might open a brand new door and Kyland might become a brand new player. Now, Hannah clued in Big D and Arza on the fact that she is thinking of taking Xavier down off the block. Now, I think a lot of people would argue it doesn't make sense for her to do it. There's no need for her to ruffle feathers and maybe piss off Kyland or Sarah Beth. But do you know what? I see it as a trust-building thing. As we've said, the cookout are kind of split down the middle when it gets to F6. And Hannah's got to do what she's got to do to get in the good airs and graces on the guys' side, because I'm going to be straight up here. I think Hannah's fantastic. I think she's played a great game, but she is in the shadow of Tiffany. So it's going to make it really, really hard if it is a final 2 of Tiffany and Hannah. It's not going to be a case of, oh, Hannah deserved the win, because unfortunately it's not. Tiffany's played the stronger game. Tiffany's been like a mentor to Hannah. And what would be an impressive move is if Hannah cut Tiffany at the final 2 or at the final 3, sorry, to going into the final 2. Of course, it would matter who she sits next to. If it's Arza, then she's probably going to win the game. If it's X, she might not. But Kyland, she might stand a chance, and Big D, she will win. So, likely anyway, obviously there's many weeks to be played still, so things could shake up. But that's just my honest opinion. Hannah has played a brilliant game, but compared to Tiffany, she's not going to win the money. Let's be straight up. And, if she's getting good graces with X, then it's probably going to do her good. Because I've said this many times over. Of course, my opinion could be totally wrong, so people don't jump down my throat. It's just, I do think that this game belongs to Xavier or Tiffany. I think both have played the best games, and it's their game to lose. That would be one hell of a showdown in the final 2 if it was Tiffany versus Xavier. Both have just played brilliant games, and I just think they've both got so much to say in the final 2 if they can get there. So all best to both of them, and it's their game to lose. I still stand by that, and I think we're going to see one hell of a showdown when it gets to final 6. That is all of your live feed updates for today, folks. I thoroughly hope you all enjoyed watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. It was kind of a quick one today, folks, because it really is kind of just Kyland campaigning a lot, Sarah Beth moping around, and X still playing a solid game in regards to the nominees. Obviously, each of them is doing that for a certain reason, and I'm not going to fault them for it. They know how they're feeling in that house, and they continue to do that. But is that approach for each of them the best for their game? Only time will tell, folks. But folks, let me know your thoughts of this week in the comment section below. How are you feeling with Sarah Beth as the target? Do you think Tiffany/Claire have been a good head of household this week? And who would you like to see rise to power on Thursday night and become the new head of household of the game moving forward into week 9? That's crazy, folks. Week 9 of Big Brother 23. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comment section below, folks. But I'll say as I always do, make sure you're staying safe, staying positive, and staying healthy out there, and be kind to one another, okay? But folks, in the meantime, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. But until your next live feed update, I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.